My name is Elizabeth Cho, and I am the Director of Curriculum at Gyeonggi-Suwon International School in South Korea. My job consists of professional learning and development for teachers and ensuring that our curriculum is up to date and that there is vertical and horizontal alignment when it comes to PK through grade 12 education. Key technologies, I think there are so many things going on around the world in terms of technology, but I think right now in education we're really looking at things that in the international world anyway, where I am, what the kids bring to the school, like the smart devices that they have at hand. So it's something that they have access to every day. The idea of making what they do on a daily basis be tied into a productive way of learning better. So surely I could be talking about the drone technology and how that changes PE. I could be talking about different ways that kids work with robotics and problem solving. But for me personally, I think it's making the technology that they have on a daily basis and making that relevant to how they translate learning into their daily lives. And if they're connected to it, we as educators need to really focus on not ignoring that and not saying you're not allowed to use that smartphone in the classroom or you're not allowed to use that device, but really how to get the best out of the realities that our children live in right now. In terms of content, I think with all educators, I think we really need to focus on breeding a culture and growing a culture of innovation. It's not about using a technology, but it's about how that technology can help redefine learning. So schools don't succeed just because they throw a whole bunch of devices at the students. Really, there needs to be a plan and there needs to be a vision about how the technologies can be transferred into their learning. And when it comes to teachers, we really need to equip the teachers to be ready to utilize the tools at hand in order to enhance learning. Just because they replace the pen and paper with an iPad does not mean that there's transformation happening. That's just a strange way of substituting the old. But it's not about substituting the old as much as it is finding a way to re-envision how to do the old better, keeping the things traditionally that worked well intact, but always revisiting that to say, how do we stay current and are we ready to equip our kids to be able to use those tools so that they can, I mean, as cliche it is, create a better world for themselves and the future. And without that mindset for educators, none of this matters. None of the technology or anything, I don't think matters. I believe in the power of collaboration. I see oftentimes at the top leadership, people fear that there's competition between schools about how to get students into their schools over the other. I disagree with that concept. I think we need to recognize that as educators we need to work together, and that transfer of collaboration happens when we're not always trying to reinvent the wheel, but that we're willing to share what we're good at, and that every educator is proud of what they do. And in conversation, in reflection, in getting together and talking about the best practices, teachers are always improving. Schools are trying to improve so that they can grow together. It's not about standing out because they've stepped on the head of someone else, but it's about empowering each other and saying these things that you do are great and we want to learn from you. And this is what we have to offer. How can we work together? Because in the end, it's not really about us as educators. It's not about the selfishness of a reputation. Everything needs to come back down to the students. What are we doing in order to encourage lifelong learning and that learning becomes something meaningful? For me, in my job, building a culture in which that professional development and learning empowers teachers and to promote this culture of sharing. I've built that by giving them platforms in which they can share what they do. So I'm at a point where at my school, every single teacher is willing to improve themselves, and we have gamified the process of professional learning. So teachers are put in teams and they're working together to become an Apple teacher or a Google certified educator. And then it's amazing to see, because then they're celebrating each other and saying, guess what I got the other day? And now with that, we're moving on to the next steps to say, great, now you have developed and you are developing as a teacher. It's something you can take away to shine elsewhere too. But now, what are we doing with that learning, and how are we translating it for the kids? What does it look like to take the learning that you had and applying it to the kids and applying it within your classroom? So what is it that you're doing to absolutely modify and redefine what learning looks like in the classroom? And sharing that becomes that collaborative transformation that I believe that every educational institution needs to strive for. Next 2 to 5 years, learning transformation, my hope, I suppose, is that when you even look at the Horizon report that really keeps up to date on the trends of technology and learning, I know that this whole idea of changing the culture so that it's all about the authentic learning experiences that we're striving for. So rather than it being just a cliche that we need to do something new, but everything that we do within the classroom, I think we need to look at it in terms of problem solving for the world. Very much the school structures are stuck on the Industrial Revolution era of when people have decided that we need to be divided in certain subjects and kids need to have certain skills. And that came out of a need, an impetus that said, the world is changing and we need something drastic. I think what's happening now is very subtle. The idea that smart devices are everywhere and people are very subtly relying on them. It was never out of a need as much as it being so ingrained into our daily lives that I think we have to be very intentional about recognizing that change and recognizing that trend. And we should tailor our curriculum so that everything that the students learn can be something relevant to the world. So maybe, for example, it's about environmental issues, and they really take a genuine problem and put it into the classroom and say, all right, what can we do and what are the resources that we have? What research powers do we have that we never had before? How can we connect on a global level with an expert on the other side of the world? I think the learning has to be fluid and it cannot be confined within the four walls of a classroom, but we recognize the classroom as the global platform because our technology allows us to connect, and we should absolutely capitalize on that growth. It's great to be here. I have to be honest, when I initially came, because this is my first time, I was concerned that it wasn't really about education as it would be for the vendors and the sales of things. And having been at many educational conferences where we focused on learning, I was skeptical because it's at a massive convention center and I didn't know what it would be. However, being here and seeing hundreds and thousands of educators in sessions they're engaged, and educators are sharing authentic stories of what matters. It has really invigorated me and has empowered me to know that the story that I'm sharing, the sessions that I'm giving, the roundtable discussions that I'm having, it's with educators who are yearning to do better and seeking to find innovative ways to change the traditional system that often gets in our way of empowering learners to love learning. So being here has been really invigorating. This environment has been great. Yes, the vendors are here, and yes, part of it is business, but to me, the first impression was that first and foremost, we are trying to do better for the kids, and I'm pleasantly surprised by that.